Some days the news comes in soft, and then you look up and realize Levi's Stadium has been rumbling the whole time. Today's one of those. A defensive shift that could reshape how this unit plays. A reunion idea that's tugging at the faithful. A low-key offensive line decision that might decide whether this offense can breathe. And a wide receiver call that's going to have the Niner gang arguing all week. You feel the difference, don't you? This isn't random off-season chatter. This is intent. This is identity. It's the kind of stuff that tells you what Kyle Shanahan and the front office believe this team needs to become. And it's bigger than, we hired a coach. It's more like pulling one lever that can highlight your strengths while masking the spots that have been getting exposed. Raheem Morris is now running the defense in San Francisco, and if you're locked in as a Niners fan, you've got to pay attention to what his style actually brings. Look at how he builds fronts, how quickly he'll pivot, how comfortable he is changing the feel of a game midstream. There's a world where the offense doesn't have to be flawless every Sunday just to stay alive. The first knee-jerk reaction you're going to hear is, wait, odd fronts? Nick Bosa is going to be standing up? Breathe. That panic usually comes from people hearing 3-4 and picturing something stiff and unmovable. Morris has been flexible. The real point is simpler. He likes five-man looks, and he likes forcing offensive lines to choose where they're going to lose. Picture a clean bear look. CJ West at nose, Alfred Collins and Michael Williams as the three techs, Bosa on one edge, and your best available edge on the other. Now the offense is staring at 5 threats. Now you're creating true one-on-ones. Now your rushers have runway. And that's where the excitement should live. Michael Williams in year 2 can become that interior disruptor with space and angles, the kind of setup most young guys never get handed. What I like about Morris is he isn't stuck on one personality. If the pressure isn't getting home, he's shown he'll crank it up. More blitz, more movement, more ways to manufacture chaos. And if you watched this defense last season, you already know why that matters. That third and long moment where the opposing QB looks way too comfortable, that can't be your normal. You don't live like that and win the games that matter. Now zoom in, because this part gets overlooked. The adjuster piece in those penny-type looks, where you walk a linebacker down to the edge, can change how the 49ers deploy people. D. Winters can become a real chess piece. Nick Martin can get a clearer lane if the staff believes in his pass rush traits. And most importantly, it keeps Fred Warner doing what he does best, owning the middle like he's controlling the whole map. Quick correction. Owning the middle doesn't mean playing safe. It means you can unleash aggression everywhere else. When you've got a linebacker like Warner, you don't need perfection around him. You need him dominant, and you need everyone else placed correctly so the whole thing works together. But there's a trade-off. Think like a coach for a second. The secondary is going to feel different, not necessarily because of names, but because of responsibilities. Morris has shown he's willing to let a corner travel with a true number 1 depending on matchup. That's a shift from comfort zone football. That's the defense saying, we're taking your plan A away, and you're going to prove you've got something else. And once you lean into that aggressiveness, the back end has to hold up. You need a true free safety who can play the ball in the air. Right now, the room leans more downhill, more line of scrimmage. If the blitz rate rises, that free safety need doesn't whisper, it starts yelling. So no, this Morris hire isn't just stop the run. It's about building a system that gets the most out of a healthy Bosa, accelerates your young interior guys, and basically forces the front office to address the deep middle. And honestly, that's not even the part that hits the hardest, because the next story doesn't land in your head first, it lands in your gut. Injuries and the 49ers have been tied together, and linebacker was where it hurt the most in 2025, especially when Fred Warner went down in Week 6. That wasn't just missing a player, that was losing the anchor. And it's impossible not to replay the what if where Dre Greenlaw stays. He didn't. He took the Denver deal, wanted that spotlight, wanted to be the standout on his new team, and the league made it ugly. Injuries stacked up, his rhythm got wrecked, and he only made it through 8 regular season games. Now there's talk being floated, nothing confirmed yet, that Denver could look at that contract and decide it isn't worth it. If that door even cracks open, you already know what the conversation becomes in Santa Clara. Do you bring him back? Here's why it's more than nostalgia. Greenlaw isn't just another body behind Warner. He changes the tone of the unit. D. Winters is functional. Tatum Bethune is steady. Nick Martin, so far, has been a disappointment. None of them bring what Greenlaw brings when he's right. Trigger speed, downhill violence, that I'm setting the temperature presence that makes everything feel sharper. The risk is real. Those injuries didn't vanish, but that's also exactly why the money would change. If he becomes available, he's not getting treated like a star. He's getting treated like a bet. A cheaper bet. Shorter term, more protection. A deal that doesn't trap the team if things go sideways. And the fit makes sense. With Warner healthy, Greenlaw wouldn't have to be the savior. He'd be the complement. Fewer snaps, more impact. Less wear, more burst. In a more aggressive system with pressure and movement, that's where his game can flash again. And emotionally? Coming back after a frustrating year can flip a switch. Still, it all depends on Denver. If they don't open the door, the Niners have to solve that depth another way. Draft, free agency, something. But if the door opens, the question stops being, does it make sense? And becomes, how do you let that walk away? Now, while the conversation is dominated by scheme and that reunion possibility, there's a quieter decision sitting there that can wreck a season just as fast. Left guard, Ben Bartch. This is the part fans hate, because it isn't glamorous, but it's the kind of detail that flips a game when the pocket collapses at the worst possible time. The 49ers went into 2025 with Bartch projected to start, selling continuity, comfort in the system, internal trust. The reality? He played 200 snaps, injuries, inconsistency, availability issues. And when you zoom out, you're still looking at under 800 total snaps across 4 seasons. At some point, you stop calling it bad luck. You call it what it is, a pattern. Can Bartch help a roster? Sure. Depth, emergency option, camp body. The bigger question is whether keeping him solves what the 49ers actually need at left guard. And it doesn't. This team doesn't need more maybe. It needs a real answer, because you can't keep living on patchwork and expect to protect your quarterback when it matters most. Yes, there's a continuity argument. Same scheme, same offensive line coach, he knows the language and the locker room. That all counts. It just doesn't count enough. Connor Colby heading into year 2 could take a step. Spencer Burford gives you versatility. With those options around, you already have functional depth. What you don't have is clear quality, and this offseason has paths to find it. Veterans, the draft, real competition. When you line that up next to bringing Bartch back, it's tough to justify. And I'll put it plainly, Bartch isn't your plan B anymore. He's deeper than that. When it gets to that point, the decision is basically made. Which brings us to the wide receiver debate that's going to light up the comments. Kendrick Bourne. Let's be fair. Bourne showed up with no guarantees and still gave you 551 yards in 2025, his best since 2021. In a receiver room that was injured, unstable, and thin, he helped keep things from falling apart. He knows the offense. He blocks. He runs the right routes. He fits the culture. If this were only about being a solid teammate and a clean fit, you'd just bring him back and move on. But the league doesn't operate on vibes. This isn't about liking a guy, it's about direction and priorities. Bourne isn't a game breaker. He doesn't force defensive coordinators to change their entire week. He's complementary, and complementary works best when the top of the room is strong. Right now, it's not. With Brandon Ayuk out of the picture and Juwan Jennings headed toward free agency, the receiver room is under review. And if the choice becomes keeping Jennings or keeping Bourne, that's where it gets uncomfortable, because Bourne probably loses that math. Jennings brings physicality, versatility, and big moment value. If both are gone, then the problem isn't, do we re-sign Bourne? The problem becomes, we need a serious rebuild of the room. That means adding someone more dynamic in free agency and drafting a rookie who can contribute early. Ricky Pearsall needs to take a jump, but he can't carry it alone. You also have to think about roster slots. Jordan Watkins needs room. Demarcus Robinson is still signed. Sky Moore either comes back cheap or gets replaced. That's the messy, unglamorous part of roster building. Yeah, it's not fun, but it's real. And here's the cold truth. The 49ers have already shown they can let Bourne walk and circle back later if the market cools. If he doesn't land what he wants elsewhere, he might be waiting for that Santa Clara call again. That gives the team leverage. That gives them flexibility. So the priority can't be bring Bourne back because it feels right. The priority has to be leaving this offseason deeper and more talented at wide receiver. If Bourne fits at the right price, great. If not, you thank him and move on, because you can't keep holding this offense together with duct tape the moment injuries show up. And when you step back, it all lines up. A defensive coordinator hire that changes the aggression level. A possible reunion that could restore identity at linebacker. A quiet offensive line decision that separates ambition from comfort. And a receiver room choice that decides whether the offense evolves or just survives. This isn't a normal offseason. It's a pivot point. Every move is a message about who the 49ers believe they are right now. Be honest, do you trust these bets? Or does it still feel like there's one more piece missing before this becomes a real contender again? Drop your take in the comments, because I already know this one's going to split the room. And if you're rocking with 49ers content like this, hit like, subscribe, and stick with me, because we're breaking it all down every day.